Hi, everybody. Welcome to SEO Office Hours. I'm just going to give it a minute just to wait for everybody to show up. So today we're going to be talking about blogging for SEO. We talked about this last month on Office Hours, but there were some technical difficulties with YouTube Live. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again this month. Basically, it was just my voice was like very distorted and you couldn't understand anything I was saying. And I didn't notice for a whole hour. So hopefully this time it goes a little better. Just trying to tilt my camera a little bit. Okay, so yes, like I said, today we're going to talk about blogging and how it can be used in tandem with SEO to increase traffic to your website. We do have a couple of questions from users. So the first one is very related to blogging. So it's basically, how is AI changing the topics or keywords to write on? And this is from Katerina, and she specifically talks about how how-to articles traditionally worked very well before for SEO, and now she is worried about that because she specifically, when she does a how-to search or is looking for steps to do something, she just uses the ChatGPT or AI overview to find that answer. So if she's doing that, she says most people are probably doing that. And that's true. A lot of the AI overviews are specifically for how-to searches or steps to complete something searches. So she's not wrong about that. Yeah, I will say that AI and AI overviews have really changed traditional blogging, traditional SEO, in the fact that bottom line, a lot of people don't want to visit a website when they complete a search. They just want to get their question answered. So you kind of have to think about that when you're selecting keywords. Like, what is the intent behind the user who would be searching this keyword? And really think about that because, for example, the article I just read is, if someone's Googling what time does the Super Bowl end, or what time does the Super Bowl start, they're not looking to read your blog about the top 5 fun facts about the Super Bowl. They're just looking to find a quick answer and then go about their day. So it's more important than ever before to really focus on selecting keywords that are for users who actually want to do some more research. And yeah, it's tough to identify those at the moment, but for example, I like to really tell my clients to focus on firsthand experience content, aka like content that an AI can't write unless the prompt was like, pretend you're a business owner or something like that. So yeah, like those case studies, trying out a software and then writing a blog about it, stuff like that. That's shows that you have your expertise and your experience. Those are the kinds of blogs that'll do well that AI kind of won't be able to steal at the moment. So yeah, more like personal firsthand experience blogs, more just like in-depth blogs. So if you think about, a top level search like, top 5 beaches to visit in the summer. Someone might be fine with just seeing, the list right at the top, and they're not looking to do any extra research. They just wanted, to find the 5 ideas and then, discuss them with their spouse or look up flights to those places. But a lot of people might want to do additional research. So if your blog is something that really goes deeply into that topic, really talks about the pros and cons of each place, the best way to get to each place, like really in-depth content. There's always going to be people that are searching for that. So, and they aren't looking for a quick overview, at the top of a Google search. So, yeah, it's just thinking about how can you develop content that's, longer form for those users that are looking to do more research. But yeah, you kind of want to kind of start going away from those super easily answered blogs, trying to think of an example. Yeah, basically just think about what could be answered really easily at the top of Google, and maybe that's the keyword you want to steer away from now. How to and step-by-step instructions like Katarina was asking about, yeah, those can be really easily answered on AI overviews. So yeah, like a step-by-step, you know, how to create a blog, technically that step-by-step could be answered in AI, like, go to WordPress, click create a post, um, and so you might want to steer away from that. But like I said, there's also going to be people who want the more in-depth instructions. So yeah, at the moment we're kind of just in a like testing environment, see what works, see what's getting taken by AI. At the end of the day, it should be all about your user and your target demographic. And so you should be really creating content that you want to create and that you think your users will want to engage with. So yeah, I don't know. I think always just focus on your user and you'll get the traffic that you're looking for. And just try not to, worry too much about Google and AI. Also, like, it's not terrible if your content ends up on AI. So that's kind of where we're at as SEOs, is how can we get our content to show up within ChatGPT or Perplexity or at the top of AI overviews on Google. So, if the more content you're creating, the more likely it can show up on AI and get linked as one of the sources. So if there's nothing terrible about, creating content and then it ends up in the AI. So basically just don't stop. That's my 2 cents. Okay, the next question is from Emily. She asked thoughts on what to do when I'm getting spammy comments on my blog. So I'm going to share my screen for this one. So I'm going to move you guys over here. And then I'm going to share this window. Yeah. Okay. So couple of things. So I know Emily has a WordPress, so this is going to be helpful for her. Yeah, I don't feel like Squarespace, Wix, I'm not sure about those, if there's even comment capabilities. I know, like, this is my blog. People can like it. So yeah, I don't know if you can comment on those. So I'm just going to answer for WordPress. So sorry about that. But where you're going to want to go is down on the left side, you're going to go settings and then go to discussion. In my opinion, there's really no need to have discussions anymore. I feel like back in the day, in the early internet, forums, threads, like the people really, used the comment section the way it's supposed to be used. Nowadays, unless you're like the New York Times or a news organization, you're not really going to get much of a discussion on your blogs. You might, I guess. Yeah, if you think that you have a business that people will actually comment on your blogs, then leave them on. But for most people, I say just turn them right off, because you're just going to get those people that are commenting and saying like, come check out my website or make money fast, So, okay, so like first we'll talk about if we were going to leave them on. This would be checked right here. Allow people to submit comments on new posts. To notify anyone. Yeah, so you can, that would be on this one right here. And then you kind of want to make as many restrictions as possible for the bots and for the spammy people. So comment author must fill out name and email. I think that should be required. Users must be registered and logged in to comment. Yeah, also you might want that. Automatically close comments on old blog posts. Yeah, if you think this is basically saying if a post is super old, should people be able to comment on it? Those are usually the ones that tend to be spammed with all sorts of characters. So you could turn that off and then say, after 365 days, turn off commenting or something like that. Show comments, cookies, opt-in box, comment author. Yeah. So basically making them check a cookies box. Enable threaded nested comments. That's basically like allowing replies to comments, I guess. So you could turn that off or on. Pagination. Email, I would say to have it so that you're emailed whenever someone comments, just in case things do get out of hand, you at least know that they're getting out of hand. And then the big ones here are you have to approve the comment. So comment must be manually approved. I would recommend having that on. Or comment author must have had a previously approved comment. So this person has commented before and you have approved it. And then if hold a comment in the queue if it contains 2 or more links. And then this is cool. This is where you can put words that will automatically get filtered and flagged. So you could put, money, HTTP, so that these words, if the comment has them, it'll get flagged. So when a comment contains any of these words, it will be put in the trash. So you could think about words that you specifically have noticed in the spammy comments and get rid of those. Basically just go through these settings and that's how you can start filtering out spammy comments. But like I said, if you just want to turn them off, which I recommend for a lot of people, just click this button or unclick this button that says allow people to submit comments on new posts. Okay, so there is that. So next, we're just basically going to get started on SEO blogging tips. And so for today, I'm just going to basically be going through my checklist that I have on my website that you can also download. I will, here, let me post the link in the chat. But you can get this checklist by visiting this link. Cool. So let me share my screen and I'll just basically start going through the checklist. Let's move this over here. Okay. So here is the checklist. It's 11 different tips. And for this purpose, I'm going to show you, I have one of my blog posts, and I'm basically going to go through what I mean for all of these tips. Oops, so we can close that out. Okay, so number 1 is optimize headers, H1, H2s, H3s, etc. So for blogging, a really big portion is the format. And this is helpful for Google, obviously, to scan the blog, but also for users. And like I said, you always kind of want to think about your user. Google obviously matters, but like at the end of the day, the user is who is king. So the big one is to make sure you have optimized headers. So this is what's called an H1, and that is the top level header on website pages. So for instance, for this blog, my H1 is help, I started my own business. Here are the lessons I've learned so far. And then you want to have headers throughout to really break up the content and make it scannable. So I have an H2 right here, lesson number 1. And then I have one here, tip number 2. And so basically this allows the user to just kind of, if the user was lazy and didn't want to actually read this post, they could just go through and read the headings and kind of get a good summary. These are some H3s, so a level below H2. H2, and essentially the way headers work is they work in kind of like a hierarchy. So, the H1 is the most important, it's at the top. H2 is the next level important, and then, H3, H4, H5, all the way to like H6. The way that headings can work well for SEO is a lot of people recommend including some keywords within the titles or the headings. So, for instance, for this blog, I'll go over later like all my keywords and stuff, but I'm basically targeting lessons learned from starting a business. And so right in this H1, I have lessons, I have learned, I had started my own business. So I'm kind of optimized this heading. Launching a successful small business, a way to make this H2 a little bit more optimized could be like staying positive in entrepreneurship is hard, or staying positive with small businesses is hard. So yeah, just trying to include some keywords throughout the headings is a good idea. Okay, what's next? Add bullet points, lists, styling when applicable. So for this is so let me rewind. When I'm posting a blog on my site or on a client's site, I like to have a Word document to really go in and write it and then optimize it. So for instance, like here's like where I would have said like this is going to be an H1. This is going to be an H2. These are H3s. So when you're writing the blog, another thing to keep in mind is in formatting is using lists, using bullet points. And going back to what Katerina was asking about AI, this can really help with AIs and with what's called featured snippets. So, like if someone Googled the 4 seasons of the year, obviously like a AI overview and a featured snippet, this is a featured snippet, will come up. And you can tell that they're kind of bulleted out. So spring, summer, fall, winter. And the way that it's easier to appear in these answers is for formatting, is to use formatting, So that way, it's been shown that for featured snippets, if you put them in bullet points or in, checklists or numbered, they have a higher chance of showing up in those featured snippets. And the same can be true for AI. So, for instance, if someone Googled for this blog, maybe like what are the reasons like multitasking is bad, or like reasons having too many resources is bad. That's a really random search. This might be helpful for the AI and Google to scan this blog and pull out these 3 snippets really quickly. So cognitive overload, lack of focus, reduced productivity. They can really pull that out. Just like if someone had been like in their blog, the 4 seasons, and then they, listed them 1, 2, 3, 4. Google can easily take them out and then throw them in these featured snippets and AI overviews. So I recommend, like I said, if you have a place, obviously there's not going to be a place for this in all blogs, but if there's a spot in a blog where you can break things out into lists or bullet points, I recommend doing that. It's also good, going back to the user, just to view it. So like you're scanning, and then, this just, it brings your eyes and summarizes it. So that's number 2, adding bullet points. Okay, this is the big stuff. So create optimized page titles and write optimized meta descriptions. So before I would do any of this, I should back up and say that I've done keyword research. So really, you kind of want to start with keyword research before you do anything. One second. You can do keyword research and select keywords after you've written a blog. A lot of times that's what I have to do with clients because I wasn't around when they wrote the blog, but I'd like to optimize the blog after the fact. So like you see it and you're like, what could this post have been targeting? But it's most helpful to do keyword research at the start of it all because then you're really shaping the content around those keywords. So, for instance, like if I was going back in time and I hadn't written this blog, which I did keyword research before writing this blog, I would go into SEMrush. So let me get SEMrush up. And look for keywords. Like I know my topic is like, I really want to write a blog about the lessons I've learned. I would then like go into a keyword research tool like SEMrush and start searching, small business lessons. And just seeing what are the keywords associated with this topic. What is the search volume like? For instance, small business lessons, 20. I mean, that may seem really low, but the fact that it's even being searched at all gives me some reassuring that it's a good topic. So I would, I like that keyword. I would take that one. I also found some other ones when I did my keyword research. So here's that small business lessons one. Running a small business I had looked up. $260. Search 260 times. That's obviously a bit of a different search intent, so like besides the lessons, but it's kind of included. This blog is basically about running a small business. How to run a small business. That's not really what this is about at all. Running a small business lessons. You basically just want to see what you could be including. Lessons for running a business. Okay, well, so basically, like I said, you want to find some keywords. And so I found these keywords before I wrote this blog. I need help starting my own business, how to learn about starting a business, how I started my own business, running small business, lessons learned from running a business. And once you have those, you're going to like create the content around it. You're going to include it. But then the big thing is you're going to write a page title around that. So a page title is, which we've talked about before, is when you do a search. So intertwined SEO. And it's this right here in the search results. So intertwined digital marketing, local SEO agency in South, ... You want to keep it traditionally to like around 60 characters. But it can be more, and if so, it'll just be truncated, and it can be less. Google can also rewrite this, so, take that what you will. You could write these, and then Google might decide, I'm going to actually change it to this. But yeah, this is a great place to include your keywords. So, knowing that it should be around 60 characters, this is what I wrote. 4 lessons I've learned about running a small business. So in this page title, I was able to include a lot of these keywords. So lessons learned from running a business, lessons learned running a small business, running a small business. I wasn't able to conclude all of them. Like I don't have the words how to learn. I don't have how I started. But it's a good mix of a lot of these words and keywords included. So yeah, keep that to 60 characters. Mine is about 67. So I like to go a little longer, but this is also just like a random branded part at the end, which if it got truncated, I wouldn't be upset. And then the meta description is not used for ranking. The page title, Google might literally see those keywords and decide to help you rank for those. Whereas the meta description, Google doesn't use that to look for keywords or rank you higher, but it's a good way to increase your click-through rate. So you really want to make a kind of persuasive you know, little blurb to get people to click through to your website. And this should be about like 150 to 160 characters. And it's helpful to include keywords just because if someone's searching those and they see it in the description, they're like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. But it's basically this little blurb right here. So Intertwined offers affordable, contact us to get started. So it's this little blurb. And once again, Google can rewrite this if they want. So for this, I wrote, owning your own business is hard. My first few months have taught me a lot about myself and a little bit about what I should have done when I first started my business. It's not a great meta description. Instead, I might have written, owning your own business is hard. Click to read the 4 lessons I learned about running a small business. About running and starting a small business. That's really short, but that kind of is a little bit better. So that's only 119, so I would figure out a way to include some more words, but that's a little better because it's saying to click to read. It's including, the keywords a little bit better, like lessons I learned about running and starting a small business. So yeah, basically just play around and try and write a meta description. All right, what's next? Insert keywords naturally throughout the content. So we have the keywords. They're right here. And like I said, if you started with the keyword research, you'd probably automatically, naturally include a lot of these keywords within the content. But, it's also good to, after the fact, go through and also add some keywords. So help, I started my own business. I basically just kind of read through this and see, are there places where I can, add some keywords. So maybe, typo. How I might start my own marketing business. Was it possible? Website password. Here, what have I learned? What have I learned about running a small business? So then you're getting running a small business. Some people literally go through and will highlight each time they see a keyword in the text. But I also think I've learned some lessons about lessons other people starting business could benefit from. I'll tell you another little quick tool I like to use. Here, I'll pull it up on this side. Sometimes I will use ChatGPT for this. So let me just, so something I might do is say, I am targeting these keywords in the blog below. And then I'll paste my keywords. Hopefully they can figure this out. There's got, I would usually go through and delete all of this nonsense, but hopefully they can figure it out. Can you see if there are other opportunities to include the keywords in the text? And then I always say, please highlight any changes, because these guys will be making changes and they won't tell you. And so then I literally will copy and paste it and see what they figure out, Might as well use AI to help you. And a lot of times they'll highlight keywords you actually already put in there. So I think instead I began the work of researching, what did I have? Instead I begin the work of researching how I might start my own marketing business. Searching how to learn about starting business. So yeah, that's maybe one way. What have I learned about running a small business? Also think I've learned some small business lessons. Also think I've learned some small business lessons, just another way to word it, that other people who need help starting their own business could benefit from. So yeah, it's really cool. It'll figure out some ways to include the keywords. Very fun. But yeah, it's, you just want to naturally include them. You want to make sure at the end you read it back. Out loud is even better because you'll really hear any weird stuff if it's out loud. And if it sounds like, you're talking like a crazy person, like, I am running a small business and I learned lessons. The lessons I learned while running a small business were this lesson, this lesson, this lesson. Like, if it sounds crazy, get rid of some of those keywords and make it sound a little more natural, because at the end of the day, like I always say, you are writing for users, not Google. Okay. Add internal, external links to relevant content. Okay, so for this one of the ways that Google actually finds pages on your website is by following links on your website. So, for instance, here's my website. You kind of just like assume Google knows every page that's on your website, just because, like, why wouldn't they? But in reality, if you have pages on your site that aren't linked, a bunch of times, it's likely that Google might not have found them. So one of the ways we can help Google find pages on our website is to do what's called internal linking. So it's basically telling Google how these pages are related. Are they semantically related? Or just telling Google about one of your pages. So especially with blogs, because blogs are so far down in the hierarchy of a navigation, they really help from being internal linked. So I don't have that many blogs on my site. Let's go see. I don't have any at all. Many, hardly at all. Yeah, this one's about landing pages. This one's about a holiday I made up, and this one's about lessons. So let's pretend I had more, and like I had one about entrepreneurship. Maybe I'm new to entrepreneurship. If there was a blog that was about entrepreneurship, I might link this sentence, let's just pretend by making it blue. And then I would kind of remind myself, like, link to entrepreneur. Link to entrepreneurship blog. And the best way to do internal linking is to link text that has something to do with the blog or page you're linking to. And best case, it contains one of the keywords you're targeting. So if I was trying to link to this blog from another page or blog, the text I would probably want to link would be text like lessons I've learned, small business lessons, I run a small business, phrases like that. So, like, say I had another blog that was about, how I have an SEO company, and it was about, let's say I had a blog about networking, and I'm talking about networking, and then there's a sentence that's like, networking has been one of the best tools I've discovered while running my own small business. This would be a great sentence to link to this blog about lessons I've learned about running a small business, because it includes some of the keywords, running small business, and it's kind of related to this blog, this networking blog. They're both about, entrepreneurship. So it's helpful for users. The user might be like, oh, what's this blog? What's this about running a small business? And Google will be able to find this other blog because it follows the links on the page. And it helps Google understand, like, oh, this page they're sending me to might be about running their small business. So, internal linking is great. It's great for users to discover other pages on your site, and it's great for Google to discover other pages on your site. And it's helpful for Google to understand what that page is that you're linking to. So, yeah, after I write a blog, I'll usually go through And, I know the pages on my site. So I know, see, look, this was another example I wrote. Wednesdays, they'll focus on blog writing, link to blog about blog writing. So afterwards, I'll go through the post and, think about all the other subjects I talk about on my website, and I'll find natural linking spots. And a great thing you can do any day is go back to your old blogs, because, see, look, free, I've already done this example. So free templates for email campaigns, link to email campaign blog. Is go through your old blogs, because you've created more content since then, and you'll find spots where, when I wrote this blog, I didn't have a blog about networking. Now I do. I'll add a link to my networking blog in this old blog. That's a great SEO strategy. It's just internal linking. Also, linking out to your actual pages is a good idea too. So say in this blog, I said, I don't know, I said something about like the pricing for my SEO services. I could link SEO services to my SEO services page. So you can also link to your main pages as well. External links, there was a time when people thought that linking to external websites helped your website. So like if you linked to like the New York Times or PBS or like, a really hardy website, like a nice .org or a nice .gov, that your website would then be favored, because it would be like, I'm friends with this like .gov website, Google, like I'm famous too. But that's kind of been disproven, and it's not really a thing. So when it comes to external links, don't feel pressured to add them. Definitely don't feel like you need to be linking to, the Washington Post or something. But if you think a user would benefit from an external link, by all means add it. So if I'm talking about, down here, like lack of focus, and I know someone who is a business coach that handles lack of focus, you could send your users there, like, visit this page to learn about combating focus issues, like that'll help your users, and you want to help your users. So add external links if you think it'll help your users. Does the blog cover the entire topic? Think expertise, experience, authority, trust. So what I mean by this is a couple things. The first one is, does the blog cover the entire topic? It's kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning with Katarina. Nowadays, you kind of want to really get in depth about your subjects, because AI doesn't really get super in depth. So, are there parts of this topic that I could cover a little bit more in depth? Could I break this blog into a couple different blogs and make a nice cluster? So if I had a blog post about, I have a dentist client. If I had a post about everything you need to know about dentures, and then I would make sure to cover everything there is to know about dentures. But I might want to break that out into another blog about like how to clean dentures, and just making sure you've covered the topic entirely will help the blog kind of outrank the AI. It'll help the AI discover your blog and pull out content. Just if you're going to take the time to write the blog about a subject, why not cover the subject fully? Another thing here is you might find that you have a lot of blogs in the past that were really short. So like this might have been a blog. It might have been about like, maybe I wrote this blog that was like, here's something I learned today about my business. And now I've learned lots of things about my business. It might make sense to combine those shorter blogs into one hearty blog, because one of the algorithm changes Google made in 2024 was really going after like super thin content that kind of looked like it was created just to appease Google and rank for keywords, but it wasn't helping anyone. Like no one's going to that page and is like, this is exactly what I needed. So combining all those kind of light content posts into one hearty content post could help. The second part of that was EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trust, which is also what we talked about in the beginning with Katerina. Is you want to make sure that your blogs have some of your your expertise in it, and that's kind of another way to kind of overpower the AI. Is how can I make this blog more human? How can I show Google and my users that like I know my stuff. So for this whole blog is about, my experience and my expertise. So it's all about like what I've learned. But if you were writing that post about dentures, if you were a dentist, you might want to put stuff in there like, I have 30 years of experience with dentures, or I was meeting with a client on Tuesday and he was having some trouble with his dentures. And I told him about how he should be cleaning them this way or something. Really putting in that experience part and that authority part will help users trust you, Google trust you, and like I said, it's something that AI will never say. Hopefully, the AI overviews is never going to say like I was helping someone with their dentures today, because they're AI. So yeah, that's a super big part. Another part, write alt text describing each image. So alt text is for images, and it is helpful for screen readers and visually impaired users. So essentially you want to describe what's happening in an image so that visually impaired and screen readers will be able to see what's in the image. Google can't, they kind of can now, but they can't really see images. So it's helpful to tell them what's happening in them. So I'm not sure if, I don't follow my own advice sometimes, so I'm not sure if I wrote alt text for this. Let's see. I hit inspect. Let's see. Ah, okay. Woman standing in street eating a bomb pop and drinking a mocktail. So this is helpful because Google would be like, oh, okay, I can't see this picture, but I think it's a woman drinking a mocktail. Back in the old days, SEOs used to kind of abuse alt text, and it would be like, if I was abusing this, trying to rank for, write a review Wednesday, which is what I'm trying to rank for this post, I would write the alt text of this like, I don't even know how I would do that. Maybe like, a woman drinks a mocktail after writing a review on Write a Review Wednesday. Like that's not what's happening in this image, but I'll just throw those keywords in there so that maybe this picture will rank for those keywords. Because that is something that can happen when you add alt text, is the image could potentially rank for something. So, maybe if someone searched woman drinking a mocktail, this might show up because the alt text says that it's a woman drinking a mocktail. Other things that are helpful is, naming the image something that's actually helpful and not, ABCDF 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this image is called, it's probably not called anything good. Yeah, I think it's called like 02 CBEC. So like if I really also wanted to help Google, I could have titled this, woman dash eating dash popsicle or something. So naming images is helpful for Google as well. I think I go into this here. Yeah. Okay. I'll go to the next one too. Ensure all images are in JPEG or WebP format and sized down. So one thing that can help your website and your SEO is making sure that your images aren't gigantic. So this image really doesn't need to be all that big. There is a way to make it larger if I click on it. But it definitely doesn't need to be 5,000 pixels. It really just needs to be, maybe 500 by 500. And it doesn't need to be super high def because it's so small. So instead of just throwing the image in here and, having Wix size it down, what you can do is visit a site like imagecompressor.com. Oops. And you throw your image in here and it will compress it. Another thing is a lot of people will just naturally upload PNGs. There's a time and a place for a PNG. Like this is a PNG, so it doesn't have a background, like a white background. But for this, this could just be a JPEG. And another file that's even better, not even better, but is also good is called a WebP. It's a really nice compressed image that doesn't slow down websites. So yeah, making sure your images are the right format, the right size will help make your website nice and fast and not slow. And yeah, titling them and writing alt text is great too. I'm trying to think what else. And honestly, every image on your site should have alt text. So if you one day just want to make the day your alt text day and you go through and you write alt text, that's also great. Include the keyword in the URL slug and make sure the URL is not super long. So this is a good one. So a lot of times people will post a blog and they won't even name it anything. It'll just be like, sometimes it'll be, like copy of blog post 5 or something, but there is actually a way to include keywords in your URL itself. So for this, I have /post because that's how my blogs are named. And then lessons about running a small business. So lessons about running a small business, which is like one of the keywords. So this helps tell Google what the page is about. That other tip in there was make sure the URL isn't super long. That's not really something that Google has said will penalize you. But it's just kind of for a user experience. Like you don't like to go to websites that are like, you wouldn't want to go to a website that like the URL is like this long, right? Because you'd be like, what is this, spam? So keeping it nice and small is nice. It's also, if someone decided to type out that URL, which is kind of crazy, it wouldn't be impossible. Another thing that's not on the checklist is try to use dashes instead of underscores. So underscores, Google reads as, they don't read them at all. So if this was underscored, Google would see lessons about running a small business. That's how Google would read this if it was underscored. So that's not great, obviously. So make sure to use hyphens instead of underscores. Okay. And then, yeah, last but not least, share the blog somewhere. Backlink, outreach, email campaigns, social media, etc. So it doesn't stop once you've written the blog. You obviously want to share it far and wide. So make sure that people find it. Obviously, our hope is that people stumble upon it on Google. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to also make sure you're sharing it. So, make sure you're sharing it on social media. Make sure you're sending it in your newsletters. And then another big portion of SEO is backlink outreach. So for this, it's basically thinking, who might give me a link to this? So backlinks are helpful because it helps Google see that you have these websites voting for you, like they're sending people to you so they trust you, and it can help with your authority. So you kind of have to think like, who would benefit from this blog? I think an easy one would be this blog. So this blog is about writing a holiday called Write a Review Wednesday. I could send this to, I could do a Google like national holiday website or something like that, like a website that has all the national holidays, or like a blog, what are the goofiest national holidays? Just kind of doing some research on websites that talk about dumb national holidays, websites that talk about holidays. And I could email the contact person and say, hey, I wrote a blog about a holiday I just created. would you think about linking to me? And doing this for any of your blogs. So, yeah, like lessons I've learned about running a small business. Maybe there's other entrepreneurs out there that have made similar blogs about this, like lessons learned from running a business. See, like technically, if I format it in lists, it could potentially be brought into this featured snippet right here. But yeah, like Reddit is kind of tricky, but like you could come in Reddit and be like, here are the lessons I've learned. Here's a blog I wrote about it. Or, yeah, this is another digital marketing person. You could reach out to them and be like, hey, I saw that you wrote about starting a small business. I can add a link in my post about your blog saying, here's 15 other lessons another entrepreneur learned. And could you link back to me in your post? So yeah, it's just kind of being creative, thinking who would link to you. And you could also find, well, I guess this doesn't help if you don't have like a tool like SEMrush, but something that we do a lot is you can see who links to similar blogs like yours, and then reach out to those websites and be like, hey, I saw you linked to a blog similar to mine. Would you also link to mine? So yeah, just thinking about who might link to this. That's kind of why people write certain blogs. So a lot of like product review blogs are good to get backlinks. Yeah, if you talk about a blogger or an influencer, then they might link to your blog. So that, thinking about topics for blogs that will be easily backlinked is also a strategy. So yeah, that's, like I said, why people do a lot of like review blogs is to get backlinks. It's also why a lot of people will create really shareable content. So doing studies, like conducting a poll, doing surveys, and getting data from that is super backlinkable. So, people will write a blog about, like if I wrote a blog about the percentage of people who are using AI results versus clicking through to a website. People might write about that subject and link to my study. So think about creating like really shareable content. And then, yeah, the last thing I wanted to cover was just when you're thinking about naming the URLs, the reason I always recommend to keep like a /post or like /blog URL structure is because then you can, let me see, you can track that within Google Analytics. 1 second. So what I mean by that is if you wanted to know, for example, in December, how much just your blog brought to the website, you could do that if you had named all your blogs /blog/ something. So for example, this one client I have, she writes a lot of blogs. And so this is another little training on Google Analytics. You go to reports, and then you go to engagement, landing pages. So this is pages that people come into the website and land on. And then I found a new way to just filter out organic traffic is instead of doing add filter like I've been showing you, you can go over here and hit edit comparisons, get rid of all users, and just do organic. Hit apply. I'm learning something new all the time with GA4. And let's do last 90 days. And so you can see, how many sessions she had, 2,900 total over the last 90 days. But we can see So that's all pages, but we could add a /blog filter, and this will tell us just how much her blog traffic got. So her blogs brought in so out of that 2,900, her blogs brought in 2,100 of those views. So that's saying that her blogs bring out a lot of her traffic. And we can see, by sorting it like this, we can see what are the best blogs, what blogs are people coming from Google and landing on, aka they're doing really well within search results. And these are the best ones. And you can also, obviously sort it. I'm going to change how many rows show up. You could see the opposite. You could see which blogs are doing the worst. And that might tell us, hey, maybe we should go back and re-optimize those blogs. Could we do more? Could we add more keywords? Should we make sure that the page title is optimized? Could we link from these really successful blogs, add an internal link to these less successful blogs? Basically telling Google, like, you're seeing this blog all the time. Go look at this blog as well, is a good way to get Google to discover some of those less known blogs. So yeah, this is why I recommend, like, a lot of people, don't have /blog/post structures for their URLs, but I find it's really helpful to do analytics and just kind of data research. So yeah, those are my tips for blogging. And like I said in the beginning, a lot of this is changing because of ChatGPT and AI. But I still think it's a good way to show users that you're an expert in your subject. So, it also shows you have a lively website that's like you're constantly adding to. So, like, you're not out of business. And I like to think that if you have a really well versed website on your topic, that it holistically is telling Google, like, they really know this topic. They have 200 blogs about dog watching, or dog sitting, so they are a dog expert. They know how to kennel dogs. So that's my 2 cents. And then lastly, I will say about AI, they do say, like, the clearer you can be about a topic, the more concise, the more direct to the point you can get, the better you might do showing up in AI. So, not unlike AI, who does super wordy answers, for the AI overviews, like, they really just want to get the answer and throw it to users. So not being super wordy. They're also starting to discover that sites that are less code heavy, so more just like, cut and dry, like, this is the content, they don't have a ton of JavaScript and stuff slowing down the site. Those websites are easier for AIs to read. So those are just a couple other tips about AI and having your blog show up in AI. And yeah, I think that's it. So the next SEO office hours will be in March, because we've moved to a once a month format. So March, the third Thursday in March. So I think that's also March 20th. So it was on February 20th. Now it's on March 20th. And yeah, I will see you there. Thanks for coming. Hope you learned something. Bye.